Fresh off of the success with the MTV partnership and WrestleMania 1 being a massive, massive hit, they jumped into Saturday Night Main Event with Dick Ebersol from Saturday Night Live leading the way.
This is the Spandex StandUps with another history lesson. Today, Saturday night's main event.
So up until this point, wrestling television was just like stars and squash matches. Mm-hmm. You know, no title changes. Your champion never was on just regular Saturday morning TV. None of that, you know? Like you had to buy a ticket, you had to go to the live matches, right. You had to see it for yourself. Yeah. And big matches, you know, like in Madison Square Garden, that's when like the title changes would happen, the big things like that. Because, you know, we're just now off a fresh WrestleMania 1.
Right.
Pay-per-views aren't really a thing, right. You know, so like they're kind of, this was still in the days of, they're coming off of the territories and they don't really know, they're kind of setting their own playbook. Mm-hmm. So this Saturday Night Main Event marked a big change. You got to see for the first time star versus star. No longer were they just giving someone for Hulk. I mean, they were giving someone for Hulk Hogan to beat up, but he had a name about him. Yeah. They weren't just giving him anybody off the street.
It was prime time.
It was. It also marked a massive overhaul of the production value of WWE.
Well, yeah, because you've got more eyes on this. And again, it's not just, hey, we're going to bury this programming, and if you're a fan, you're going to find it. It's, no, this is prime time, mainstream. This is a coming out party of sorts.
Yes. So original format, 60 minutes. So 4 matches, 60 minutes. That was the backstage segments, commentary, everything.
They used to love the 10-minute match back in the day.
Bro, the longest match on the first episode, 7 minutes.
Right.
You got a 7-minute banger, a 6.5 minute, a 4-minute, and a 3:15.
Wow.
First episode, May 11th, 1985. I wasn't born yet.
Me neither.
I was born that year, but just not quite yet. It was in, so the big appeal for NBC was Dick Ebersol, big wig at NBC. He was the producer of Saturday Night Live. He was also in charge of Saturday Night reruns.
They called him
when they
Big
weren't
Dick.
in season. Yeah, Big Dick Ebersol.
That's what they called him.
And
that's what we're going to call him.
And he was tired of the reruns, so he saw their success. So he's like, "Well, when Saturday Night Live is not in season, let's let WWE play around."
Love it.
So they got the Saturday Night Live time slot.
Huge.
Yeah. Just not when they were in season.
Right.
He liked what they were doing with MTV. It was hosted by Jesse the Body Ventura and Vince McMahon. Bobby Heenan subbing in from time to time. The last couple of episodes had old Hot Rod Roddy Piper on the table.
R.I.P.
Take Me Home by Phil Collins was the ending theme for the first. I love that song. Vince
McMahon got what he wanted, even when it came to the music clearance. I mean, he's like, oh, it's going to cost $2 million to use this song? Who cares? We're building a brand here.
That's why I love when Tony was doing it in AEW. People, he was just buying up songs. I was like, Vince used to do that.
Yeah, totally.
He just bought an in-house band.
Yep.
The main event was a spinoff of it. It would be on Fridays, usually in February before WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. So they really leaned into Saturday at main event and main event really building WrestleMania storylines. Because it still was gearing up towards everything hinges on WrestleMania.
And again, maybe you're getting some new eyes on it, so you're trying to sell your next show with this show. I mean, that's how wrestling always is you're never watching the show. You're watching an advertisement for the next show.
Interesting strategy with this. Since it was on 11:30 Eastern, the main event would be the first or second match of the 4.
Oh.
Just in case you didn't want to stay up for an hour to watch Hulk Hogan.
Love it.
Because, again, this is the time everything built around Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and there was no recording. You know,
you had to throw a tape in the VCR.
I remember even when I started watching Monday Night Raw, if I fell asleep,
it just is what it is, man. You had to go to school the next day and hope your friends fill you in. I remember one time something big happened and all of my friends, we all fell asleep. We were like, no one can tell us. This was most of the early access to Hulk Hogan. Most of the episodes were centered around him as a champ, which was completely unheard of. 31 original Saturday Night Main Event episodes.
Wow, that's a lot.
Hulk Hogan competed in 24 matchups. Only lost twice.
To who?
Both by countout.
To
King Kong Bundy, to really push his WrestleMania 2 match. You know, he had to have King Kong Bundy beat him by countout because he might lose.
Right.
And the second one will get you. I could give you 100 guesses and you would never get it.
Give me one hint.
He has a very famous brother who you think probably would be in better standing to have the loss here.
Rosie?
The genius.
What?
Lanny Poffo.
Wow. Yeah, I did not see that one
He
coming.
was a comedic heel, and they were trying to make him more serious. So they gave him a count-out victory over Hulk Hogan.
Did not see that one coming.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I said, this was a big turning point in the overhaul of WWE. Like, we know WWE just took a big step forward in their production now with, you know, getting the old heads out, getting new eyes on it, getting the drones in, getting the wrestling entrance is like, it just stepped up. It feels
100%.
like a real, like a UFC, like a sport.
They turned down the lights of the audience, you know,
Yeah.
everything is focused on
It feels so good.
feels like wrestling again.
Yes. So this was the first time wrestling took a big step. Before this, WWE had one truck pull up, and it had lights and the ring and like a camera.
Yeah.
Dick Ebersol said, that ain't going to fly.
Nope.
I'm putting you on Saturday night on NBC.
You better step it up.
So he demanded 4 cameras at ringside with boom mics to catch the grunts and groans from the wrestlers so that fans at home can feel like they're in the front row. And he demanded concert quality sound.
Wow.
For the interviews, the wrestlers, he's like, we're not having any mics cut out during promos.
Yeah, none of
this is
this.
the big leagues now. So it really made McMahon value production. Because he didn't know about this stuff yet.
Yeah.
You know, this was his first introduction into the more of the entertainment. Like,
Well, now he's got someone else's money, which is, I think, is the big thing. I think Vince McMahon always wanted it, but, you know, when you look at some of the documentaries, they, especially around WrestleMania 2, like, the money wasn't there. They were just, so now that you got someone else's money, let's run it.
Production value. You
run
know,
it.
NBC ain't gonna let you just throw something up there. Heavy card for the first episode. 2 title matches and 2 face turns. We get a George the Animal Steel face turn, so he could feud with Macho Man, and we get a Paul Orndorff Mr. Wonderful face turn, which, if I do recall, might have been his first face turn in WWF.
Okay.
This is the favorite little fact I found while deep diving into this. They taped the first episode, took it to the NBC studios in Manhattan, gave it the Hollywood treatment, showed it to Vince and Linda McMahon the next day, and they said Vince's jaw was on the floor the entire time.
Because he loved it.
He loved it.
Yeah.
This was the first time he saw his creation.
The
with
way
the
he envisioned it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, he got NBC to do the Hollywood jazz to it, you know? So a lot of indications were this was the turning point.
Yeah.
This now was the standard for WWF. He was not going back to before this. So that first episode got an 8.8 rating, the highest in that time slot since Dan Aykroyd and Belushi ran SNL in the 70s.
Incredible.
So crushing it right away. Let's take a look at that first card. First up, we get the U.S. Express, which is Rotunda and Barry Windham. We know the
Hall of
history there.
Famers.
Yeah, we know the deep, deep history there. And Ricky Steamboat
Wow.
teaming together. Legends. Defeated Nikolai Koloff, the Iron Sheik, and George Steele. This is when George,
a great
after
match.
would turn face, not helping him beat up the faces. Freddie Blassie in the corner because he was just the heel manager at the time. Because Bobby was doing more commentating. He was getting away from the managing for a little bit. Next up, like I said, the main event was usually the first or second match. So main event, Hulk Hogan with Mr. T in his corner defeats Bob Orton with Roddy Piper in his corner.
Star power.
Yeah, this was going to start build. This was still fresh off of their WrestleMania 1 tag team match, and this was gearing towards WrestleMania 2, which we know is the boxing match.
Yeah.
Now this makes sense why Bob Orton was in Rowdy's corner.
Yeah.
And Orndorff turned face too, so now Rowdy doesn't have Orndorff, who was his tag team partner, there. So now Bob's got to take his place as his guy. So go check back and watch. We got WrestleMania 1 and 2 on the history lesson on the channel, so definitely make sure you check out those episodes. Also building off of WrestleMania, Wendy Richter, champion. Cyndi Lauper in her corner.
Yep.
Defeats the Fabulous Moolah.
Ooh.
Went back and watched Fabulous Moolah's Dark Side of the Ring lately. Whoo! People are split on if she was a nice person or not.
Yeah. And and when I started watching, they treated her so poorly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she was 80.
But she's still a legend. I think she had to kiss Vince McMahon's ass in the middle of the ring. I mean, just some horrendous.
Yeah.
She took a stone cold stunner. I mean,
she used to get beat. I don't know how they didn't die in that ring. And they said Mae Young took it. She talked so much trash.
Yeah.
Kills me, man. But this would later on, this pairing would fall apart pretty quickly. Remember, I talked about the screw job, about how Wendy would get screwed. The first screw job, how the Spider Lady, the Fabulous Moolah, held her down and pinned her. She didn't know part of the finish. And then rounding us out, the fourth match, Junkyard Dog defeated Pete Doherty.
Okay.
So they threw a squash match in there real quick.
And that was the final match.
That was the final match. 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah.
A couple of quick fun facts about that first event, or just about Saturday Night Main Event in general, and then we'll look at a couple more cards, some significant matches. Like I said, they had this Friday night spinoff called The Main Event, which was once a year, the February before Mania. The first episode had Andre Hogan WrestleMania 3 rematch.
Wow.
Yeah. So way to kick it off.
And who won that?
Hogan again.
Okay.
It was February 5th, 1988. We just talked about the first episode of Saturday Night Main Event drew an 8.8 rating. That first main event drew a 15.2 rating.
Wow.
So people are buying whatever Hogan and Giant were selling. During the 1985 October episode, we had a real deal marriage. Uncle Elmer, a 400-pound hillbilly. I don't know if you know Uncle Elmer. He was a manager. He was in Hillbilly Jim's corner and all kinds of... If it was a Southern dumb character, Uncle Elmer was their manager. And he legitimately married his longtime girlfriend, Joyce Stasko. And, of course, Roddy Piper intervened. Disrupted, caused the whole thing. Jesse the Body Ventura was talking trash on commentary the whole time. I'm sure McMahon said, "I'll pay for this if we put it on TV," like that type of thing. And Jesse the Body Ventura went into the cake at the reception on TV, of course. The March 1988 episode, Harley Race did the first ever table spot in WWE. He put Hogan on the table, jumped off the ring. Hogan moved. He dented it.
Oh, and they were like, "We love the tables now."
Yeah, it was a steel table, not the wooden one cut in half to where it breaks. He went through a metal table, actually caused him to have a hernia, and he was out for a legit amount of time.
Yikes.
Yeah. Cyndi Lauper guaranteeing her being in Wendy Richter's corner is the final push that Ebersol got to get the okay from the higher-ups in NBC. So, again, Cyndi Lauper opening the doors for a lot of early WWE.
Totally.
March 14th, 1987, the highest rated show ever in the late night Saturday time slot, garnering a 11.6 Nielsen rating. It was a battle royal with Andre and Hulk before their WrestleMania match.
I mean, that was a big
Andre and Hulk
at that point.
Yeah.
Battle royals were like.
And how can you get Andre out?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to eliminate the Giant?
That was the OG Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Because they weren't doing the Royal Rumble yet, were they?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So
the next year they started playing with the idea of the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
48 title defenses on the original run of Saturday Night Main Event. Only changed hands twice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to promote the company and the champion and kind of what you're doing, but, you don't want to... It's not necessarily the place to move stories. It's
right.
Because you're attracting this different audience, even the way they're presenting Saturday Night Live or Saturday Night's Main Event now is it's like they want it to be for people that it might just be dropping in.
The cash fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe you haven't been following, but.
Right. All right, so that first one was in May of 1985. The second one is in October of 1985. This time from New Jersey. This one drew an 8.3 rating. So, still doing all right. This was when Uncle Elmer got legitimately married. The main event was the very first match. Hulk Hogan defeated Nikolai Volkov in a flag match. This is when WWE loved flag matches.
Yeah.
And they didn't mean anything. It just meant if you won, you got to wave the flag around. Mm-hmm. The second match was Uncle Elmer with Hillbilly Jim and Cousin Jr. Obviously, Cousin Jr., defeated Jerry Valiant, which was like a jobber manager back then. He took a lot of losses.
Okay.
Didn't win a lot, His real name's John Hill. He's known as the Gentleman Jerry Valiant. He's big in Australia and Canada, but when he came to WWE, just jobber.
Yeah.
Manager jobber. That match was 12 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. Paul Orndorff versus Rowdy ended a double countout. They just beat the mess out of each other for 4 minutes. It was great. Andre the Giant and Tony Atlas. What a tag team. Lou Albano in their corner.
Wow.
Didn't think I'd say that.
No.
Andre the Giant and Tony Atlas with Lou Albano.
Yeah.
Defeated King Kong Bundy and Big John Studd with Bobby the Brain Heenan. I mean, that would get me hyped if I was a casual fan. Just monsters.
These are like comedy lineups. Where you're just like,
right.
It's like, who's working together tonight?
Right. The final match was the tag team championship. The Dream Team, which was Beefcake and Greg Valentine, retained. This is when Beefcake was getting pushed because a lot of people speculate because he was Hogan's friend.
Yeah.
And they said Greg Valentine carried that tag team. So they said screw it and did another one in October of 1985. So the third one was from Hershey, Pennsylvania. Drew a 6.3 rating.
Yeah.
They're like, too soon, bro.
Too soon.
Way too soon. The big match on this one was surprising. It drew a 6.3 rating because this match had King Kong Bundy and Big John Studd again teaming up with Bobby Heenan. But this time they took on Hogan and Andre the Giant teaming up together. So apparently big draw as enemies, not so much as friends.
No, at that point, yeah, I mean, because it's kind of like what we're getting with this Saturday night main event that we're coming up with, which is, you're finding a way to put all of your big stars in the event. But yeah, people teaming up together, it's not as big of a draw as people going against each other.
Right.
Think about Bad Blood this past year where Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes teamed up together.
People loved it.
They did,
but we also got a Stockton wins the next match.
Exactly. So it was less about, and Bad Blood was great, but Bad Blood was great not because of that match, but because of the one-on-one match between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk.
Stole the show,
so it absolutely stole the show.
They learned their lesson, took a couple weeks off, came back December. This time it drew a 10.4 rating.
Well, it's December. It's cold. People are in there. It's
they
the
bounced
holiday.
back.
Yeah.
It bounced back. They actually taped it in December. It aired January 4th. So I guess people still were off for New Year's. You know? Big match was Hogan defeating Terry Funk.
Ooh.
Don't really see those guys going head-to-head a lot.
No. Opposite ends of the wrestling spectrum as
Very
well.
much so. And this started Randy Savage and George Steele's feud. Or reignited it. I'm not sure. Main event comes back in March. This time from Phoenix. Drew a 10 rating. The big match being
These
Hogan.
are good ratings.
Yeah. Hogan defeating the magnificent Morocco. This started the Dream Team and British Bulldogs fighting too, which some people said was the best tag team feud back then.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd mix in Wyndham and Rotund too. Those three tag teams kind of were it back then.
Yeah.
Then the Hart Foundation came in, and rest is history. Funny one next time. This one's in May. We're getting into Saturday Night Main Event 6. Big one is Hogan and Junkyard Dog teaming up against Terry and Dory Funk. Remember, they didn't like Dory Funk's name, so they changed him to Hoss Funk.
Hoss Funk.
Terry and Hoss Funk. And this is also when Jimmy Hart turned on Hogan. So he's managing anybody going against Hogan. Mm-hmm. Again, we get British Bulldog defeating... They're turning Bulldog's face because they're defeating Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik, which is another great tag team during that time. Next, September 86, this is when they're turning Rowdy face because they got him defeating the Iron Sheik. Had Hogan defeating Paul Orndorff. So Orndorff's a heel again. That didn't last long. He was a better heel, you know. We get Kamala showing up. He was in the last match defeating the genius, Lanny Poffo. 1:44. So, yeah, this is a great way to showcase these guys. You know, I'm seeing Hogan, I'm seeing Savage, I'm seeing Jake the Snake Roberts pop up here, and they're just cycling through Bobby Heenan and Jimmy Hart clients to get beat up by Hogan. I'm seeing the Killer Bees. The Hart Foundation finally showed up. Oh, we got a Coco Beware sighting. It looks like they tried to do about 5 a year.
Yeah.
Not a lot of breathing room.
No.
But if that's your only source of TV, like, can you imagine if they did 5 Raws a year?
Right.
They'd have to hit it out of the park. They'd have to throw these guys in there. We got another Hogan and Orndorff, Savage George, Harley Race pops up.
And again, it's like this is it's kind of what they're doing with Saturday Night's Main Event now, which is, you know, sure, there's all this other content on, but it's hardly ever on NBC. There are some people that will watch everything on NBC, even if it's pro wrestling. So you got to give it your all. You got to really cater to the specific audience and know that, yeah, you're going to have your diehards watching, but you might also have some people just curious that, ooh, wrestling's on NBC. Let's see what they're up to, and you got to be catering to those folks.
So in the late 80s, they get up to about 5 matches. I'm starting to see the Ultimate Warrior, starting to see Earthquake, starting to see Big Boss Man. The Rockers are we're getting the Rockers versus the Hart Foundation. Like that started those guys going. I'm loving Hogan and Mr. Perfect are mixing it up. But then in the 90s, it started to turn a little bit. They had one in July of 90. It drew a 7.2. It was the debut of Texas Tornado. But again, it had a lot of people questioning why they weren't leaning into the Von Erich name.
Right.
If he's a draw as Von Erich, why are you changing him to the Texas Tornado? And people didn't know he had half a foot.
Right. Oh, my God.
My man's got an amputated foot from a motorcycle accident that they're hiding.
Crazy.
He would defeat Buddy Rose in a 3-minute squash match to end the night.
Wow.
The big match that night was Ultimate Warrior defeated Rick Rude for the WWE Championship.
Rude, baby.
I love that. Those are, now we're speaking Demolition and Real Rockers, Mr. Perfect, Tito. This is when I loved wrestling. They're not even telling me the ratings towards the end of the 90s, so you got to think it's got to be a little bit bad. We get Hogan and Tugboat, Honky Tonk Man, Haku, Sergeant Slaughter. So this was the very last one. On April 27th, 1991, from Omaha, Nebraska, this would be their last one with NBC. I'm seeing Ultimate Warrior, Sergeant Slaughter, Nasty Boys and Bushwhackers, Mr. Perfect, Greg Valentine, DiBiase. We get a DiBiase Bret Hart match.
Wow. This would have been early Bret Hart.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then they took a little bit of time off. They ended up airing 2 episodes of Saturday Night Main Event on Fox in 1992. Oh. So Fox picked them up for 2 episodes. Not bad ratings, though. 8.2 rating for the first one. Rowdy was back. Hogan was back. Justice. I like him. Sid Vicious. Ric Flair, Undertaker, Savage again, Jake. And this is when we get Ultimate Maniacs. Come on. Ultimate Warrior and Savage against Money Inc. This is banger of some. Yeah. Shawn Michaels defeated the British Bulldog. He won his first he won the Intercontinental title. This drew a 6.1 rating, dude. Yikes. This card is Bret Hart beat Papa Shango for the WWE Championship. Like, what are we doing here?
Just can't get people in. You got to get people in the door.
Oh man, that's a bummer. Now you were a fan in the mid 2000s, right?
Yeah.
They brought it back in 2006.
Yeah. I think I'd kind of checked out around then. if I'm being honest. What was the match they did in 2006?
It drew a 3.1 rating.
And what was it on?
NBC.
Yeah, I don't think I watched it.
We get Big Show defeated Carlito.
Yikes.
John Cena, Triple H defeated Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, and Orton in a handicap match. Mickey James and Trish Stratus defeated Candice Michelle and Victoria. And then Shane McMahon defeated Shawn Michaels by submission.
Yeah, I do not remember this.
It was 1 hour. It was bad.
Yeah.
And then they did another one. DX defeated the Spirit Squad. That's about the only highlight I
Terrible.
see.
Wow.
Michelle McCool defeated Sabu. Sabu on here defeated Stevie Richards in an Extreme Rules match. John Cena did defeat Edge for the WH. I was by disqualification. Never mind. Again, you don't want to. Okay, 2007, we get a Kane, Doink the Clown. Eugene defeated Kevin Thorne, Viscera, and Umaga.
Eugene was still going in 2007? My God.
Great Khali defeated John Cena.
I hated Great Khali.
I did too. Man, it turned bad fast.
Yeah, it did.
So what we would like to do is remember the good early days from Saturday Night Main Event. Those first times when it was their time to shine on TV, they threw all their main event guys at it. You had your Hogans, you had your King Kong Bundys, you had your Andres, you had your Savages, your DiBiases, your Jake the Snakes. That's what I like to remember Saturday Night Live.
And they've been the ones, the reboot's been great. It feels like a little PLE.
It does.
In the middle, in the middle of all the other
Like a half
PLEs,
PLE.
But on television, on cable, feels like a PLE on cable, especially the first two.
Yes.
They felt,
I got a feeling this next one's going to be pretty dope, too.
yeah.
We've all...
Logan Paul, Jey Uso for the title on NBC. I'm into it.
R-Truth.
It's great.
I hope we get a little serious R-Truth, man.
That'd be cool.
R-Truth is like, you beat the comedy out of me,
I mean,
bro.
we're going to get Cena there too, right? He's supposed to be
Cena
there.
R-Truth, yeah.
Oh, that match is happening.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. So that's our history lesson on the early beginnings of Saturday Night Main Event. Check out all of our great content here at the Spandex StandUps. Please hit that subscribe button. Share us with your friends. We'll see you next time.